All right, so I'm Maeve,
I'm Courtney.
and today I wanted to talk about the Drizzler. It's one of his names.
I've never heard of that.
That's unofficial name. His actual nickname is Drizzy, I,
I'm
which I don't know. I don't know why he's called that, but that's one of his names. But Drake dropped 3 albums Friday morning, and um, I'm really only going to talk about Iceman. So the three that he dropped were Iceman, which is the one that he's been teasing up to since like last year sometime. Um, and the other two were one was called Maid of Honor and the other was called Habibti. I don't know what Habibti means. Um, but I'm only going to really be talking about Iceman because the other two were um, 0 on 10s. They were terrible.
like that was your opinion or
No, well, yes, is my opinion, but it's pretty.
yeah, but I want to know if it was just your opinion or if it is generally accepted that it is
No,
around there.
it's pretty well accepted that that's the case. And I'm not like speaking from a biased position with that either. I think so. Maid of Honor was an album that was leaning more into house music. I don't know if house music is it's a genre.
I I do. I am aware of it, but I
Okay,
can't think of anything like right now off the top of my head that's going to be like, yes, I know for sure that is house
it's
music.
yeah, it's kind of a poppy and it is like pretty dance heavy. And it's not that the entire album was bad. There were some songs where I did like the production of. Um, the issue is that, well, Drake has completely lost his ability to know how to sing good.
Why?
He just,
I'm just curious here as someone who is not like a Drake fan. I don't listen to Drake. I haven't listened to any of this.
well, well, like I'm not a Drake fan either, but about 2 weeks ago, I listened to If You're Reading This Is Too Late, which is one of his more critically acclaimed projects. And he has a song on there called Jungle that I really like. And it is like a perfect R&B song. And it's songs like that where he can sing really good. It's just pretty clear that over time he's lost this ability to not necessarily to sing good, but to know like there's no quality control there. Like he doesn't know what sounds good anymore. Not that he's lost the skill. Um, so that was one issue with that. Drake just doesn't know how to do that anymore, and he doesn't really know how to make house music. Um, and then another thing for Habibti that was purely an R&B album, um, and that was just terrible. But it wasn't like unenjoyably bad. It was funny to listen to, so it wasn't like painful. Um,
Funny in a like I'm laughing at you sort of way.
yes, but Iceman was different, and I'm really glad that he took the 3 album route here because leading up to the release that night, there was rumors that he was going to. Um, it was rumored that it was going to be 41 songs or 43. I have no idea. But it was going to be like that many songs on an album, which is ended up being the amount that he released for the 3 albums. But it was rumored that there was all going to be one album, which would have sucked. Um,
Yeah, when you cuz you texted me, you wanted me to listen to when you thought it was one album.
yeah, we were going to listen to it together,
Yeah,
but
when you thought
like,
it was one album. So I was like, okay, I'll listen to it with you, but I can't guarantee like it's gonna be my thing at all because I don't listen to Drake. But then you text me. I remember you text me, and you were like, it's 41 songs, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and the thing about where we live is so new music normally drops 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but um, our time is 1:30 a.m. So listening to 41 songs at 1:30 a.m. is pretty difficult, especially
Did you
when.
actually listen to all 41 of them at, or did you break it up?
Oh no, I listened to all three that night, all three albums. I was, uh,
How late were you up?
I didn't come to bed till 5. But like I never like regret it. Like no matter how long an album is, I always just enjoy listening to it because I just like listening to music. But yeah, so Abipti and Maid of Honor were terrible. But Iceman was all right. My score for Iceman is a 5 on 10. So
That's still like mid.
yes, it is mid, but there was some things that I did like about it. But quite a lot of things that I did not like. I kind of want to talk about some lyrics and some songs here. Um, so on the intro, Make Them Pay, this is one where he is kind of talking, he's getting a lot more introspective with it. I don't remember fully everything that he's talking about, but I know that he was, one thing that he mentioned was that his dad had cancer. And it's normally not something you get from Drake, where you actually get him talking about something interesting. Um, so I thought that was cool. But then I saw like a video clip of his dad that was taken recently after the album, and he had already recovered from the cancer by this point. Like it was already dealt with and all that. Um, Not that it really hurts the song, but
Yeah, because it was still a thing that like you
it was
went
still a
through
thing
on
that he went through. Yeah.
like
So
you
it
can
was obviously
still
just made at a different time
yeah,
than
like
when it
you can
released.
still write songs about stuff that happened like years ago. I'm pretty sure like Kendrick does that, doesn't he? It's been a long
Yeah,
time
yeah,
since
yeah.
I've listened to his stuff, but
Yeah, of course, it takes time to make music, and I'm not
yeah.
like holding it back. Um, I actually said the intro was "Make Them Pay." It's not. It's "Make Them Cry." It's my bad. Some songs that I did like, um, and I'll get into some of my negatives as I talk about it because, like, "Make Them Cry," as I said, was a song that I did like. Um, "Whisper My Name" was another one, and this kind of leads me into one of the problems that I had with the album. There is way too many beat switches on this album, and it sucks too because "Whisper My Name," the first beat is really good, and then halfway through it switches, and it's not that it's bad, but it just transitions the song into somewhere that is not good. um, Same thing with "National Treasures," which is one that's being gassed up online quite a lot because, admittedly, the first half is probably the best part of the album. It is really good. Um, Drake is rapping very well. But then the beat switch happens, and again, it just ruins the song. And the same thing with the intro song, which isn't like, it's not an issue for me because I quite like the entire thing, but it's just more and more beat switches, and there's more than that. Those are the ones that I kind of had an issue with. Um, I quite liked "Shebang," which is interesting because his performance on there has, it's like very quirky, and it's not something that I thought that I would gravitate towards. Um, but for some reason I did, and it's quite good. Um, I thought he had a line on it. Yeah, he had a line on Shebang. Last one you dropped was shit. I did press play on that whole mid skip skip. I don't know what album he's referring to with that. It could be GNX, Don't Be Dumb, or The Fall Off. Probably not The Fall Off, which is an album by J. Cole that released in February. Okay. But yeah, anyways, with that line, like it's an okay line. It just is interesting because it also goes for this album. A lot of it is very much mid, and there's quite a lot of skips on it, so
Very hypocritical.
it's pretty interesting. Um, on Make Them Pay, he has a line. Um, I love you because of the history, but if we're being real, I could never forgive you, and you never called me back, which is referencing Drake's relationship with J. Cole, um, and how he feels on the fact that when J. Cole released his diss track towards Kendrick, 3 days later, he then apologized live on stage to Kendrick. And, in that moment, he was clowned on it for it. And it's not confirmed, but um, the line saying that you never called me back could be the fact that Drake called J. Cole um, sometime during the beef, maybe asking for help, or I have no idea about what was going on, but apparently he never answered. I can see why Drake would be upset about that, considering the fact that if J. Cole had featured on one of those diss tracks that Drake made, we could be having a very different conversation as far as kind of where that beef headed. He also has a line that says "fuck a big three anyway." That was way too many chefs in the kitchen, which I don't know. It's a line that he started on his song, um, so I don't know. Is he just saying "fuck" his own song or something? I have no idea. Um,
He's still doing great since the beef. I mean, you had to explain it to me because I was not up on anything that, like, I heard about it. I knew it was happening, but before that point, I didn't like care about any of them. Sure, I'd heard Drake's music, but because it's like all over the radio.
yeah,
And I remember like back in high school, like people loved God's Plan. I didn't care for it. But um and I hadn't really heard much of Kendrick's music either. And I heard like one song by J. Cole. So I didn't I didn't care. You had to explain all of it to me.
yeah,
So I'm forgetting details, to be honest. Like the details about J. Cole.
yeah. There was a lot that went on. Um,
But I do know I remember how badly Drake lost that beef.
yeah.
He's still not doing too great, apparently.
Well, commercially, he's going to define this album. Like with these releases that he just did, he's going to break the record for the most number one songs, maybe by an artist, if not definitely a male artist, um, which is currently he's tied for 13, I think, with Michael Jackson. So this will put him over that definitely, and then this could also be um, he could also be the first artist where he has three albums simultaneously at number one, two, and three on the Billboard. And like early projections for the sales, he was going to sell like combined all three, like upwards around like 7 to 800,000 um, units in the first week. Which we had talked about sales at one point because we were discussing. I forget why we were discussing it, but we were discussing Taylor Swift and the life of a showgirl and kind of the just how far ahead she was compared to everyone else. Like Billie Eilish is most best-selling album, the fastest was "Hit Me Hard and Soft."
Yeah, actually I think it was the Tortured Poets department actually, because that they were like fighting for top spot at the same
No,
time
no, no.
with those
We
songs.
weren't discussing about that. I was just trying to get you to understand what I was talking about in regards to sales and what's actually considered high. Because Him Yard and Soft did, I think, somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000 in the first week, which is really good. But The Life of a Showgirl did 4 million, which is
As Taylor Swift would.
like that's up there with like Thriller. Um, in fact, I think it might be the fastest selling album ever. I have no idea. But yeah, so 7 to 800K is a fucking shit ton. Um, like I think Kendrick's fastest selling was Damn, and that was like 600. Um, I kind of want to point out some corny lines. Um, it's this one's on National Treasures, I believe, in the second half after the terrible beat switch. Ironic because the Iceman was a nice man. Now I'm hot and cold. Which there was a fan that was like, "There's a 50% chance that Drake rhymes Iceman with nice man," and then he did it. Yeah, and
This is lore I'm not aware of.
yeah, and it's being memed on a lot. But I realized I got to dig a little deeper, other than me talking about the way I'm flipping dough like Little Caesars. Blow on me like some green tea, and I'm greater than everybody like shredded cheese.
You've made me hungry.
Drake's never been a great writer. Um, well, actually, I don't even know. There was he was in a beef with Meek Mill. You don't know who that is, but
I've heard of
um,
him. That's all I know.
this was like probably 12 years ago at this point around there. And he was like calling out Drake for using ghostwriters, which over time has become a more acceptable thing, but I'm not too sure about that time. And certainly before like 2000s and 90s, it was something like in the 90s, if you were exposed for like having ghostwriters, like that would be the end of your career.
Yeah, it's I know it's a more common thing now, but like people still don't. I guess like it, some don't.
Yeah. Um, so I have no idea if he wrote this, but there's a lot of memes going around that, you know, it definitely looks like Drake wrote this album because of just how corny and bad some of the lines are. Um, but yeah, some of my highlights, like I said, the intro "Make Them Cry" had a pretty good performance and probably the best writing and a pretty good beat. Um, again, like I said, the first beat on "Whisper My Name" is great, and "National Treasures." Yeah, and he has good performances on songs like "Bees on the Table," "What Did I Miss," and then two of the other songs that I mentioned already. Um, actually, I have a line down here. Yeah, I said no. Wait, it was on this one. Yeah, Drake is pretty good at making a song good for like a minute and then ruining it with something else. And I feel like that perfectly describes this entire album because, like I said, he had a good performance on the song "Bees on the Table," but then that has a feature on it which is 21 Savage, and his hook is not good and ruins the song for me. Um,
See, I feel like if you had made me listen to all 41 of these with you, I think I would have fucked off after a few songs, been like, this is terrible. I don't want to listen to this anymore.
but you know, Future, right?
Heard of him.
Yeah. So he was on this album, which is just so weird because Future and Drake, they have a long history. They were really good friends and they were partners a lot. They have a collab album that released in 2015. Um, and they made a lot of music together. But his inclusion on this album is so weird because Future was the guy that made We Don't Trust You. He made the song Like That, which featured Kendrick Lamar. and then you know, which would go on to do what it did. Um, and so it's just so weird. And like Drake was dissing Future in some of his songs.
Perhaps they made up and it just wasn't public. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. Imagine you were in Drake's position, right? And someone that you've been close with for a while makes a song with someone that then disses you. And then this beef goes on. And then 9 months down the line or so, that artist that was dissing you is now calling you a pedophile at the Super Bowl. Like, Future platformed Kendrick Lamar to go on to do what he did. Well, I don't really remember where that cut off, but that's how I feel about the album. um, yeah, 5 out of 10. Yes. So from, we're gonna have to
Yeah.
explain again. So from is a TV show on Paramount. Um, Takes place in this town that people end up in at random.
Yeah, actually, the reason we even started watching the show in the first place, I'd never heard of it before, but my friend suggested it to me because I think his mom started watching it and then suggested to him, so he started watching it. So I think we were like playing games together, and he was just explaining it to me a couple times. He was like, "You really need to watch it. It's really good." So I think I suggested it because like we're always trying to find like shows and movies to watch together. So I was like, well, maybe we can watch this. So the way that he explained it to me, I don't know, I'm not really sure what it was that I was expecting, I guess, when he explained it. But it's still like I still kind of like the show. Like it's still good. Um but I feel like it's a little bit different from what I was expecting based on how he explained it. But um basically these people get stuck in this town and they're unable to leave and they have to stay inside at night because there are these monsters that come out that will kill you. So that's basically how he explained it to me. um it's very intriguing, like the first season most of all, and I feel like that's the case with most things, source material, I guess. The first is usually the best because I feel like it's introducing this world to you and you're so intrigued by like these monsters, this town, how it is the way that it is. And then like as things go on, like things have sequels, later seasons, all like that kind of thing. I feel like it kind of dries up a little bit because I can't even fully explain it myself, but I feel like the sense of mystery that you get with the source material just isn't there. It's lost its touch a little bit.
Long story short, the show's ass. So it has a tendency to introduce stuff and then not conclude it. Um, so again, with the stuff that was going on with Boyd in season 2 and um, the
The
worms in
worms in
his
his
arm,
arms.
why that was able to kill one of those things, I don't know. Um, Probably never get that explained. Um,
I should hope that they do explain that eventually cuz there are some things that I just now considering I haven't watched the show more than once, if I went back and watched it again, I'm sure I could pick up on stuff that I didn't pick up on like the first watch through. I usually find that is the case. But now that you're mentioning it, like there is stuff I've just conveniently ignored. um yeah, I think there was something else that my friend brought up to me too when we were discussing it. I what was it? I it probably was something very similar or around the same like timeline that you're talking about that he brought up and I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." I am like the perfect consumer of every show and movie cuz I'm just like I enjoy it as it is and I will ignore everything wrong with it.
I do too. It's just the issue now that I'm having is that on the surface level, the show is good and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, like the first season is what drew us in. It is very like good, very intriguing.
But the more you think about it, um, the more ass it gets. Um, so another thing was at the end of season one, um, when Boyd and Sarah head off into the forest, they encounter quite a lot out there. There's something that moves their tent.
That
There,
is coming back in this season though.
it is.
It is supposed to, I think.
Okay. Well,
Because the cabin, I think it's touched on again in season 3 at that like cabin around that like was it a lake or something? They had like a bunch of they grabbed a bunch of food from there because they were running out of food because it was all going rotten. And
yes.
they were hearing stuff around the cabin at night, but it wasn't one of those like the regular monsters that come out at night. It was something else. But I watched the trailer for season 4. Um I don't know what that thing is in the trailer, but whatever it is, I believe it crashes through the roof of that cabin, I think. So whatever it is that I'm thinking that's what it is. It is going to come back on that thing, I think.
Um, yeah. So there's that, and then there's also all of the spider webs in the forest.
Oh yeah.
What that was, I have no idea. Um, the show also is pretty good at causing significant events to happen in the story, and then absolutely nothing come of it. There was something that happened, actually, two things that happened in season two that are,
Season 2, I will admit, was a bit dry.
yeah,
But it was important. It did end up being important.
I guess.
Well, yeah.
But
For season 3.
there was two specific things that both have never happened in the history of this town. Two things happened in season two, and nothing came of them. One was one of those things died.
Yeah, but that was explained end of season 3 because all throughout season 3, Fatima, who was told like she could never get pregnant, was suddenly pregnant because she was having like symptoms, but then it started becoming weird because nothing came up on that ultrasound and she was eating rotten food because it was the only thing she could keep down. And then by the end of the season, she gives birth to this baby that grows. I is a timeline ever given? I'm not sure, but it is very fast. Like it's way faster than 9 months, as long as she's like actually feeding it. But she gives birth to it. This kimono lady comes, takes it, and the smiley fucker, the one that I hate, um, he like it grows into him, but that's the same one that he killed using the worms in his blood. But that part, the whole worm blood thing, that needs more explanation for sure, and how that even killed one of them.
Well, what was going on with it needs more explanation, but I'm specifically like the end of season three, it explains at least a way that those things
Can be killed,
created,
or oh yeah,
but nothing comes of it when one of them dies. That is what I'm pointing at here.
yeah,
Nothing.
like because they had hope though. They had hope when that happened. They were like they can be killed, but it was killed by this thing like they don't even understand because he got these worms under his skin from this man in these ruins. I'm hoping that's going to be because there is something going on now with Julie and the ruins too.
Yes, but there's nothing to do with Boyd.
No, but it might. I
Maybe,
hope.
but like it's just one of these things is killed, and then it's a very significant event because it's never happened, and then absolutely nothing comes of it. Um, like they try to use the bile that came from it to kill things.
Yeah, like they do. Now, my friend did say to me, like, he was saying he saw a lot of, like, critiques about it, and even he was saying, like, why don't they ever try and kill these things? But, like, it's shown in the show that they do. They don't bleed. You can't, like, kill them. And they're very dangerous. Like, you cannot let them get close to you. They will, like, gut you in a second. But Um, but they do attempt, and they do find out that one does successfully get killed. Um, but then they realize it just comes back. So even if you kill it, there's gonna be no point. So I guess, you know, it's a bit pointless, I guess. I feel to complain about that. And I even said, like, even before I knew that that happened, I think, said to him, like, you know, um, because I think he said, like, why don't they just, like, capture one and experiment on it? And I'm like, you think these people want to risk their lives more than they already do living in this town 24/7 to see if they can kill something? Like, kill this thing? Because, like, it's very risky, but they do end up doing it, and it's explained why it can't be done. So
It can be done.
it can't be done because even though one was successfully killed through that method, it can't be repeated now, and it just ended up coming back. So, like,
Yes.
people did have those complaints, but it was later explained why, you know, and it was later explained that they did attempt to try and kill them.
I disagree. All that explains is a way that they can come back to life. Because that can happen, it doesn't make it pointless to try and still figure out ways to kill them. It's not like they
Yeah.
just pop out of nowhere. It was a process that took a lot of time and effort to recreate him. It's not just this thing where you kill it and it immediately spawns. Like, no, there was a reason there, and nobody is trying to do anything.
Yes, but like they are still obviously trying to figure out how to get out of this town. That's like the main goal.
Not really.
Well, that's the thing. Like, have you been listening to the show? Have you been watching it? Because
Yes, I have.
the thing is, the more they try to figure stuff out, the more they try to look for answers, the more this town pushes back because it has killed people who try to look for answers
Okay.
or were involved. Because in season 4, Jim died because Tabitha and Jade looked for answers. So Jim got killed.
Okay.
And it was
Then
written on the barn too. I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said something referencing, like,
knowledge comes out of cost.
yes, knowledge comes at a cost.
Yes. Okay, but then that's like I get that that's the case, but then why was Tabitha able to leave?
Yeah, that was. I'm hoping that's gonna be
It
explained.
won't
We'll see, we'll see. But I was a little bit like, how do I? Because, like I said, season 1 is intriguing. Season 2 gets a bit dry, but it becomes important for season 3. But the part where like Tabitha goes home but then ends up coming back, she that I found that whole thing a little bit, how do I put it, like corny. I think that's why the show has kind of gone a bit downhill for us, is because of how it starts out good, but then it's like all these things that they're doing, all these explanations. It's like it feels mediocre, I would say. Because, I mean, imagine being stuck in a town that you can't leave, and oh, the solution is to just find this lighthouse and get pushed out of it by some ghost boy. Like, it kind of sounds a bit ridiculous. But the thing is, it can't really be recreated after that, so and she ends up getting coming back to the town anyways in that ambulance.
Yeah.
But she was meant to be there as it's showing us the show. But I feel like we're kind of all over the place right now talking about it. Like we're going from like bouncing from season to season. True.
But I also have written here, um, why does the town, again, only seem to push back when people walk far? But
Walk far?
yeah, like they can walk as far as they want. But if they drive, they get caught in a loop. But
Oh
nobody's ever
yeah.
tried to off road. I don't know why. Um, and I kind of want to talk about.
Well,
Um,
I guess it is this mystical, mysterious place that can't really be explained by the laws of reality. So there's my explanation.
mm, poor writing. Um,
I can see that.
I got a lot of points here about the talismans because I take a huge issue with it.
Yes, there was something about that too that I was thinking of, because we were discussing how these talismans only work when they're hung up and in an enclosed space. But when it's shown how Boyd finds these talismans, he's in a cave where they're all like around, but it's only covered by like vines.
Yeah.
So that's a critique that I had, because now part of me, like, maybe this is how it is explained, because my brain kind of came up with an explanation for it, but like when these talismans are hung up in like houses, like these things can't open doors, but if these talismans aren't hung up, they can just open the door or a window. So, or even if the talisman is hung up, but say the window's open, like they can get in, or like a door is open. That
Yeah.
is showed in season 1 actually. But the cave though, with the vines, I was a bit confused about that, because I was like, that's technically not an enclosed un am I saying that right? An enclosed space. But I was also thinking about it. If you think about the logic of them not being able to open doors or windows while the talisman is hung up, maybe they can't move aside the vines because they were still like thick. They can't fit through, I guess. They can't move it. I don't know. Like, I would still probably critique that anyways, but I did come up with that sort of explanation. I was like, maybe that's a plausible one.
Well, that doesn't really bother me. That's not really what I have questions about.
That
I'm
is something I did.
I'm just confused as to why nobody has bothered to question why they exist. Like of all the people that have ended up in this place, none of them are geologists that know anything about rocks. But also, there's clearly something inscribed on them. What it is, I don't know. Why? Why?
Like some sort of symbol or something.
Maybe. Why hasn't anyone tried to put that symbol on anything else? Um, some other points I have here is, can they be destroyed? If so, can they be melted and turned into bullets? Um, what happens if you hypothetically put on a suit and then hang it up inside the suit?
Yeah.
And then what happens if you get one of those things inside a house and then place the talisman, hang it up outside of the house? Will it stay locked in there? If so, figure out what happens to them during the daytime. Um, and I have, is it fully enclosed spaces that it protects? Like, if you, I don't know, draw a circle in some dirt and then hang it in the middle, what's that?
Well, I don't think. I feel like we can
Yeah, maybe not that, but I was like thinking about like how salt works
like
on,
a salt circle,
yeah,
basically.
but like something additional that I had was if you can place or put like a talisman on the outside of a house and lock one inside, why don't we just put a bunch of leaves and vines on the entrances to all the tunnels and then put talismans on the outside, locking them in the caves forever?
Maybe. Yeah, I feel like you could definitely really dissect the logic behind this show for sure. And I think I've had my own now not that in depth, but I have had my own, you know, doubts about the logic behind um some of the stuff in this show for sure.
Like, as I think about it, like the show does get worse and worse for me. All the points I have here on everything that comes to mind, I've had a lot more. I just don't have it all written down. Um, but something that I don't necessarily know if I care for it as far as the story goes of this show, but something I do really quite like um, is um, Julie's story walking ability and how it works as far as maintaining continuity in the show. So, for example, say in The Flash, right? In season two,
I think you just like time travel.
yes, I do. But in season two, after Barry figures out that Zoom is Jake Eric, he's obviously obsessed and wants to beat him. He runs back in time to an event in season one, in which he is then getting Ibarthon's help to get faster. You remember this? And like Ibarthon gives him like the equation to the tachyon device. Yeah, because it would be so complicated to write in season one. Obviously, at the time of season one, if you go to the episode in which Barry travels back to, he's obviously not in that episode. The events that occur in season two do not occur in season one, but realistically, they should. But this show, it does do that, where we will see something happen that involves Julie, but we won't know, like, say, tossing the rope down the well.
Yeah, that's what my friend mentioned. I forgot earlier, but I just remembered that is because I forgot about that. Who tossed the rope down that well for Boyd to be able to climb out?
Yeah, Julie is not only there in the original event, but she is there when we eventually see her go
Yeah,
back to that event. That is something that I really quite liked and I
yeah.
noticed.
See, I kind of forgot about that a little bit. I didn't know who threw down that rope, but then my brain just immediately forgot that happened. And then once it came back, I was like, "Oh." But my friend did also mention before we even saw that, he was like, "I want to know who threw that rope down." I was like, "Oh right, that happened. I forgot that happened."
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to know too now that you mention it. But yeah, I like how they do that.
because writing stuff like that in advance is not easy to do.
No, but it
Um,
is very good.
so like I get why it wasn't done in the Flash because it would just be so complicated.
Yeah. It was very I felt that was very complicated as it was anyways.
Um, characters are?
See, I think my friend did ask me who I like the most, and I don't know. Because we were discussing it at first because I had feelings when I first started watching the show because he had already seen it, like what was out up till that point. So he was asking me like about the things that happened in the show. And at first, I could not stand Ethan. But as someone who's not a fan of kids, of course, I'd be a little bit annoyed. Um, but he was telling me like his mom was not annoyed at all, but he was also like, but she's a mother, so she's gonna feel protective of a kid, even if he's fictional. But Ethan's okay now. I just think at first he just starts out a little bit like annoying. Um, Julie, I might as well just go through each character because like I said, I don't know who my favorite character is.
Well, to me, there is a very clear answer for not who the best character is, because that is kind of personal opinion, but who like does the best acting for their character. It's pretty obvious to me.
Victor.
Yes,
Yeah,
and he is my favorite character
that's
by
what I
far.
was. That's what I was just thinking. I was like, Victor, maybe like he is an interesting character for sure.
Like the fact that he has no emotional intelligence because he was never raised
Yeah,
properly.
so he's basically still in the mind of a kid.
Yes, and that's why he was like friends with Ethan. Like the actor that I don't know his name, but he
Like,
plays him so well.
yeah, like I would actually love to see just how he speaks normally because it would be such a contrast from the show, obviously. But I was starting to think about that before you even mentioned it because I was like, he's different. Like, he's a different kind of character. And like it starts out in the first season, like they see him as a creep because he's an old man talking to a kid, and they just see it as him preying on the kid. But that's not the case because he may be in a older man's body, but he's still in the mind of a kid because he didn't grow up in the regular world. He grew up in this town. So he has no like you said, emotional intelligence. He has no knowledge of the outside world. He has no knowledge of how people normally act. And he lost everybody throughout his life that he knew. So it's actually, I do think he is a very well written character. Um, you know what? Now that you've said that, Victor probably would be my favorite. Now that you mention it,
My favorite scene in the whole show is I forget what was just happening, but like I think he's walking with Ethan, and then like Sarah and Victor's dad, they like come out of the forest or whatever. I don't know. And then Victor and his dad go to hug, and then Victor just starts crying. He says that he didn't know how to get out. Like that was my favorite scene in the whole show
really,
by far.
yeah, that was very like emotional. I think. And I mean, his father thought he was dead for years, and I think he'd accepted that. But now he's like, he's alive. He's seeing his son. But imagine that though, like you haven't seen your own son in years. You've assumed he's dead, and now you see him as an older man. You've missed out on his entire life, but you realize he's been in this town his whole life, that he couldn't leave. You missed out on everything. That would be so sad. But I, on the topic of acting though, I don't know if you also feel the same, but whoever plays Tabitha, like she's not bad, but there are times when it's just the way, like her line delivery, it just. Mm.
Anyways, Um, yeah, there's like quite a few
Oh,
characters that I
I was
don't.
gonna say there was another character I forgot about her because she's not in the show anymore, but Tien Chen. I loved her. She died so brutally. And like everyone I was sad. I think I nearly cried when she died because like she's such a sweet character and like you know like especially for Kenny too because he already lost his father in the first season to those monsters because Sarah left the door to the clinic open and it killed him. Like that's such a brutal way to lose a parent, but that's in this town that's how you're going to lose anyone, really. If anyone has a premature death. Well, I guess not entirely. You could die in other ways, but that's the most likely cause. Um and his mother who like I loved because like I said she's such a sweet character. She's very like sweet to Ethan. She was just that type of character that everyone loved. Everyone in the town loved her. That type of thing. And then Kenny also loses his mother in such a brutal way and we don't see his father's death. We just see the aftermath when he's found. But we sort of now it's not like full graphic detail, but it is shown some of it at the very least. So you see this happening to this character that you love. And one thing I will always praise about any like show, movie, whatever that does this is when they kill off characters that matter. Because and I don't mean this in like how do I put it like I want that character to die. But I find it's a good thing when writers are willing to kill off important characters because and this happened a lot of people had a complaint about this when the last season of Stranger Things. It feels like there are high stakes when a character that actually matters dies. But in the final season of Stranger Things, they didn't do that to any of the characters. Only like side characters you didn't even know their name, like soldiers. That's basically all only those are the only people that died. So it didn't feel like there were actually high stakes. So that's why I like it. Even if I do love the character, I like it when like shows and movies do that kind of thing because it just I feel it's better story writing to do that. Mostly.
Um, yeah, there were many characters that I didn't care for. Tien Chen was one of them. Glad she's dead.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Did you actually like Tien though?
Like much
You
of
just
anyone.
didn't really feel one way or another about her.
Yeah. Um, I don't care for Ethan or Julie.
Yeah, I was gonna go through the characters because, well, I wanted to figure out who my favorite one was, but then I think I figured it out. But it would be nice to go through them anyways, I think.
I don't care for anyone in my family.
No, I don't particularly care still. I'm not as annoyed by Ethan, like I said. I don't care much for Julie. Um, Tabitha, like I said, her acting at times, like her line delivery, could be better, I think. I didn't care for Jim either, but they are like they're basically the main characters starting out though. Yeah. Now it's been a while since we've watched the first season, so I know there's a lot of details I'm forgetting, which also I just remembered. um So before we got to the episode about those monsters getting into Colony House, my friend and I were discussing the show, and he asked me, he was like, "Would you prefer to live in Colony House or like in one of like the private houses?" And I'm like, "A private house, duh." Like anyone could fuck up in Colony House, and you'd all be dead. And this was before we got to that episode. And once we got to that episode, I was like, "See, I knew it." And I literally told him, and I'm like, "Tell me why you want to live in Colony House after seeing that episode." And you asked me this question, like, after seeing this episode. And I had already figured it out beforehand. Like, I knew someone was going to fuck up. Of course, I'm not going to go to Colony House. Now, that's the only time it happens, anyway, I think. It doesn't. Mm, the the part where Fatima locked her and why am I forgetting his name? Boyd's son. What's his name? I've forgotten his name. Um, Boyd's son. Anyway. Um,
Ellis.
Ellis. Fatima locks herself and Ellis in the porch of Colony House and hangs up a talisman, and they stay there all night. So the things are in the house, but I think that's after that happens, isn't it? Or is that the same episode?
That's the second time.
Okay, yeah. Well, why did it happen the second time?
Because of the guy that was seduced by one of them.
That was the first time it happened. Yes, that was the first time it happened. He was yeah, because the monster was pretending to be, I guess, someone he knew or something, or seduced him. I really don't know. That part, now that I think about it, was not really explained how he knew her. Does it have to be explained? I don't know. But it's not really explained whether he knew her beforehand or if. Now, that was my impression, but you've made me second guess myself. Maybe the monster just seduced him.
I'm not questioning that. That was the first time in season
That
one.
was the first time. And he opened the window for her to get in. They
No
make
way.
out.
I swear that happened in
She
like
kills
season 3.
him. No, that was the first season. That was the first time that it happened. The very episode, I remember, because of what I just discussed, how my friend was like, um, would you prefer to live in Colony House or in a private house? And this was before we had watched that episode, and I said no because it takes one person to fuck up and everyone's dead. And then we watched that episode, and I'm like, see, that proves my point.
Then what happened the second time?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't remember. But I couldn't remember if them enclosing themselves in the porch with the talisman was during that episode or if that was the second time. She is sort of smart for a dog.
We're gonna talk more about From when season 4 concludes. So.
Yeah, we are behind by 2 episodes right now anyways. So where it's not fully out, we can't really talk much about it, especially because we're behind as well.
I'm honestly kind of just rolling my eyes at the thought of watching it. It sucks.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit drier compared to what it was, but I'm still interested enough to keep watching. I do want to see where it goes. And I think that's the ultimate thing for me when it comes to finishing something, because I know countless times I've read like books before and I've been bored out of my mind. But and I'm like questioning, should I continue reading this or should I not? Because like, is this just going to end up being a waste of time? Do I care enough? Now, um I have a friend who, even if he starts reading a book, even if he doesn't like it, he will not DNF a book. I absolutely will if I don't like it. And I will have strong words. But I usually end up asking myself, do I care to see how this ends? And I'm not gonna lie, I do care to see how it ends. I want to see. Even if it does get a bit cheesy, a bit corny at times, and sometimes the line delivery can be questionable, and the storytelling, the writing can also be questionable. I still want to know, even if it ends up being shit. Then I can just say, well, it was shit, you know? I saw it through and I can say for certain that it's garbage. But I care enough to keep going. You don't seem excited about that.
No, I'll still watch it.
So I'm not gonna lie, I've been thinking about how we've been behind on those 2 episodes, and I'm like, we need to watch that. I want to see what happens. It's important.
Yeah, it was cool at first, but it has slowly gone to not be as boring. I still think it's more interesting, but it's almost on the level of Horizon when it comes to being boring.